I know. I've spent a lot of time in Canada. I know the Canadian people are a proud people and proud of their country. How does Canada react if that is actually President Trump's intent to collapse the economy?
Well, first and foremost, Canadians are more united than ever. And we will be united and we will fight back and we will win. And that's why today we announced $155 billion worth of tariffs against American merchandise coming to Canada. We're targeting products from the US that are linked to our friends within the Republican Party that can make pressure to the Trump administration. And we don't want to do this. We want this to be over. But at the same time, we are under an existential threat, Jim. And so, of course, we are retaliating. And also, I must say, the President Trump and his administration have together threatened Canada, not only on the economic front, but on many other fronts. And so, of course, we will fight back. And, you know, Canadians are people that abide by the rules, but we're courageous people. And we stand strong on our principles and values. And that is at the core of who we are as a country. And that's why I'm...
A Pennsylvania auto dealer says that because of Trump's tariffs, sticker prices for new cars and trucks are already higher. A new analysis says the tariffs drive up the price of a new vehicle by about $12,000. And Ford CEO Jim Farley has said that if these 25% tariffs kick in, they would, quote, blow a hole in the U.S. industry that we've never seen. The White House says there could be an update on Trump's tariff plan later today. It could include a carve-out for automobiles. Let's bring in David Kelleher, who owns David Dodge Chrysler Jeep and Ram in Glen Falls, Pennsylvania. Sir, thank you so much for being with us. I wonder what all this back and forth has been like for you as the owner of a car dealership.
Well, yeah, it's been a little trying, Boris. These are extreme potential hardships. So, it puts my business at risk.
Do you have a sense of which cars could become more expensive, if there are any that would become so expensive that they become cost ineffective and therefore manufacturers stop making them?
Well, we build our heavy-duty Ram in Mexico. That's the 2500, 3500 cab cab, and a large, the ProMaster vans that go to commercial customers. And then we also build our Compass, which is our economy car, our smaller SUV for the Jeep line, as well as, ironically enough, the Wagoneer S, which is the new electric vehicle, which surprisingly came out of the gates very strongly. And it would impact all of those vehicles, as well as in Canada, the Pacifica and our the other electric vehicle that we're producing right now, full electric, is the Charger and Challenger. So all of those vehicles would be impacted in a great way, and basically make them unsellable, because that type of price increase in a sensitive market like we're at would basically just negate the value of the vehicle.
Right. I wonder, and this may sound like a sort of weird philosophical question, but I wonder how you would define an American vehicle, because these are American brands, but yet they're largely manufactured in Canada and Mexico. So when someone like Trump talks about buying American made, what does that actually mean?
Well, the administration's goals are admirable. Number one, bringing jobs back to the United States and these assembly plants back to the United States. And also, getting support from both of those countries as regards to immigration and fentanyl. So I support all of those measures. However, taking this extreme measure now, I mean, we were in NAFTA. NAFTA was clearly defined, and the companies made investments to that end. And we can't turn them on a dime and build a $4 billion facility, assembly plant in the United States in a couple of weeks. I mean, that takes 3, 4, 5 years to accomplish something like that, and much planning. So to attack it in that manner, I think it's kind of like you've got a wart on your finger and you're going to cut off your arm. It's just the impact to the economy, and we're not the only ones. Stellantis isn't the only ones. I mean, Chevy's got investments in there. Ford has investments in there, and meanwhile, the Germans and the Japanese have no tariff impact. So they haven't changed. Their model hasn't changed a bit.
Sure,
So
David,
that leaves
I hate
American
to
companies
interrupt.
less competitive in the United States.
Trade war if you surrender in advance, because we are seeing a fast move of Donald Trump, who has talked a lot of bluster, and it's not just politics, and it's not just in the United States. We have seen markets internationally and foreign leaders have to deal with what a sitting president says, even if they don't think it's all 100% on the level. So there was a lot of threats from Trump about tariffs, started in on some tariffs, but immediately President Trump going wobbly as the outcry extends from Wall Street to many conservatives, Republicans, Main Street, small business, people concerned about it, the international part I mentioned, and all of it a direct response to what he said are going to be his tariff plans. The stock market, which Trump has played up and emphasized more perhaps than, say, liberals or progressive critics, is negative, wiping out all gains since his inauguration, new jobs data, below expectations. So just take a minute here and think about what we have. This is not a game. This is not a drill. This is real people's lives. And I've told you before, campaign's over. Campaign promises are over. A large section of that speech last night may have sounded like a lot of campaign rhetoric and spin and some lies that have been fact-checked. But this is governing time. And these are real people affected. And for all of the campaign talk about prices and inflation or the vibe session, there was an effort, maybe not perfect, because we covered problems with inflation at the time, but there was an effort to try to deal with that. In other words, you had a United States government focused on what was real problems, which you can hold President Biden accountable for. Now you have a United States government led by President Trump, which across these 6 weeks is not doing basic steps to try to bring prices down, has not held summits, meetings, let alone submitted legislation to battle prices and inflation, and is actually taking measures that at least the stock market and a lot of other indicators say are bad for consumers. Now take it to the conservative Wall Street Journal. Quote, the next president inherits a remarkable economy, basically arguing that for all the problems I just mentioned, things could improve. Wall, now you have Trump watching prices up, egg prices up, people smuggling eggs in from Mexico, 158% rise on that if you monitor that kind of thing. It's not a good sign for a country as wealthy as ours that you have to smuggle eggs because they've become so pricey because everything is topsy-turvy. And the tariffs don't help. It's the opposite of those campaign vows I mentioned. Trump did say tariffs could cause a disturbance and an adjustment period. Here's his commerce chief. Take a listen.
There's going to be, as the president said on the campaign trail, there may well be short-term price movements, but in the long term, it's going to be completely different.
The sound you are hearing is a rich elite person trying to spin you on something that you're living through.
President Trump's sweeping tariffs on Mexico and Canada are raising enormous concerns over how America is treating two of its biggest trading partners. And it comes as the White House further aligns itself with U.S. adversaries like Russia and its authoritarian leader, Vladimir Putin, all while shifting away from Ukraine and clashing with President Zelensky.
Joining us now is CNN's Fareed Zakaria. Fareed, thank you so much for being here with us. I want to begin with these tariffs. What impact will they have on Americans?
Oh, they're very significant. They're very substantial. So if you take American cars, the way over the last 25 years that the car industry has made American cars is to create an integrated supply chain with Canada and Mexico. What that means is some parts are made in Canada, some parts are made in Mexico, a lot is made in the US. The parts move back and forth. Because of the tariffs, every time an auto part moves, it gets tariffed. That's why there are estimates by Anderson, a consulting firm, that the price will go up maybe $8,000 to $9,000 for an SUV. So what you have is the North American car industry is now going to be discriminated against, and who's going to benefit? The German car industry, the Korean car industry, the Japanese car industry, because those cars will come into America tariff-free. It's a very strange, self-defeating set of tariffs, because the U.S. has built over the last 30 years a really remarkable integrated economy with Canada and Mexico. It's in many ways more dynamic than the European Union. And now we're shooting ourselves in the foot.
President Trump, Fareed, has repeatedly accused other countries, including U.S. allies, of taking advantage of the United States. Why does he think this is the case?
Trump is a protectionist to his bone. It was his first political statement as a real estate developer in the 1980s was a full-page ad he took out in the New York Times, where he talked about how Japan was ripping the United States off, taking advantage of the free trade system, how Japan was going to clean our clock, dominate the world. It is worth noting none of that turned out to be true. In fact, Japan went into a 25-year stagnation. The U.S., by staying open and innovative, actually was able to leap ahead. You know, the numbers tell you the story. In 1995, average Japanese citizen was 50% richer than the average American citizen. Today, the average American citizen is 140% richer than the average Japanese. In other words, we've done way better than countries like Japan that protected their markets. But he believes this stuff. And, you know, so he finds any excuse. The excuse he's using with Canada is ludicrous.
So, folks, what Canada's doing is brilliant. The way they're getting revenge on Trump, late night tonight, what they've been doing since he's launched the tariffs officially, and even before, if we're being honest, when he was just threatening them, you know, a month ago and longer, is they've been, yes, responding to the broad tariffs, meaning some innocent Americans are affected, and I can speak on behalf of 99% of Canadians that we feel bad for that, right? We do. Because we know you're innocent in this, but we have to retaliate like Trump is to Trump's direct attacks. But some of the moves in particular have been precision designed to hit red states in some cases, but also Trump economic allies. That's why you originally saw the first step was to pull red state liquors off the shelf in Canadian stores. And that made them made them really mad. You know, Jack Daniels, they were really mad at Canada because we pulled them off first. And he's like, well, why are you doing this to us? I was like, well, your state voted for Trump. Actions have consequences. You know, you made Trump president twice. Now, you know, and he's hurting our country. We're going to come after you before we come after just a general American. But also, you can see there, you know, the capitalist class, the business owning class, that's the Trump real base. Not working class people, not veterans, not soldiers, whatever. The capitalist class is being targeted here in certain industries like auto. And they are the only people that Trump listens to. The only people. So Canada has tailor-made their revenge response to put pressure on Trump and the millionaires that are his buddies.